You're listening to
Wrestling to the Max.
Alert, clear all channels.
This is an exclusive.
How you like that?
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leeser.
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Hello and welcome to another Wrestling to the Max Extra G1 Climax 26 edition. This time going through nights 4 and 5 and getting caught up finally, Paul.
Yeah, tiring already, and we're adding on stuff because we're insane. Like, we're covering Kobe World tomorrow, and this is our third show of the night, and I'm beat like a redheaded stepchild, Sean, and we're not even close to halfway over.
Yeah, I mean, at least we do get a break from the G1 for this July 26th, and then they got to go back on the 27th with the next B-Block show. But it's nice to have a little bit of a break. But we should go ahead and get into this action from night 4. Much better than what we got in the nights 2 and 3, I think, as an overall show. And they started with Tomoaki Hanma and Yoshihashi, and Hanma again with a definitive win here against Yoshihashi. But still, Yoshi gave it all he could here, and Hanma just surprisingly off to a 2-0 start.
Yeah, Hanma undefeated in a block is surprising enough, but when you watch this match, it's an underdog versus an underdog, and obviously you can't have two underdogs in the same match unless they're on a tag team. So it's sort of interesting to watch them play very different roles. Hanma, almost your veteran in this, almost staying on top of Yoshihashi until Yoshi gets his licks in here and there, and this is really, really good. And then, Hanma finally puts Hashi away with the top rope Kokeshi and everything. But I really enjoyed this match, and it's very different from stuff that you see from Hanma particularly. But also, I think Yoshi's working very different, more so than he already has been this entire year. Yeah,
you got, Yoshihashi getting, that butterfly lock in again. And they really kind of teased the big half Nelson driver move, and Hanma had to do a lot to get out of that, and eventually Hanma wins, but I like that he had to do the reverse fire thunder driver, which is pretty awesome. I don't think you see that too often, and yeah, like you said, it's two underdogs going at it, and at one point it was all Yoshihashi, and then they eventually got into going rooting for Hanma as well, so the crowd was a little bit split on who to go for. So, I mean, that's kind of these things, people sometimes go, oh, we got to have this face versus face match. And especially with you're trying to establish Yoshihashi and you still don't know what Hanma is going to be. Very interesting dynamic with this one. One that we kind of knew what we're going to get sort of going in, Yuji Nagata, who has those 2 points after the upset, and Evil as well with his upset on Michael Elgin coming in here. And Yuji Nagata gets the win again with another backdrop and then the backdrop hold. I thought this was still pretty good, though. A lot of just them beating each other, but Nagata kind of being smart and staying one step ahead of Evil, while Evil didn't really take advantage of the opening that his master had kind of left for him. Mm-hmm. He didn't wear down Nagata like we saw Naito do on the previous night.
I think this is very telling for where Evil is at and what the character is. Evil is somebody who goes 10,000% to smash you in the mouth, and that's really about it. And I think that's really impressive that so far Evil has already crafted this character and this style into something that's working very, very well. And then you know, hats off to Yuji Nagata here too for playing the vet very well, which obviously, you know, he's been wrestling for God knows how long at this point. But really, I think not. I don't want to say carrying Evil, but really walking him through this from a story perspective as far as the match goes. And I really found myself enjoying this match. It runs by very fast, and I think Nagata's right in his wheelhouse of that 10 to 15 minute range for a match. And yeah, I enjoyed this a lot.
I did too, just because you can see that Evil's getting better every time,
Mm-hmm.
and he does have kind of Nagata helping him out here, but he's feeling more and more comfortable in that role as it goes on for him. And that's, for me, I think that's awesome to see, because he's a guy, started as a young lion, got into this weird character. We saw those entrances and we're kind of like, oh God, what is this? Totally just weird ass gimmick that they're having him do. And he's kind of embraced it and become better than that. He's that sort of, sometimes that Naito can kind of have him out there, and he's the glue that sort of holds that whole unit together at times, with the guy that they kind of count on to get falls sometimes too.
Mm. No, I think he's so different and sort of set the tone for what they did with Bushi and what they're doing with Sonata and stuff like that. Because Naito, outside of just being a smug, over-the-top asshole, doesn't have all this extra over-the-topness to like these other three guys do. So, I think something that they did with Evil sort of set the tone for what Los Ingobernables have turned into.
Certainly, and we'll get more of the Los Ingobernables on night 5, but so we continue here with, we'll get more later with Naito in a minute, but we get Kenny Omega and Toru Yano. I know Larry is not a huge fan of these things, but this is all that I wanted from a Kenny Omega and Toru Yano match, and we got it here in about a little less than 10 minutes. Just such a refreshing comedy match with both guys just loving doing the comedy. And I love Omega on Twitter, though. He's like, I'm going to do the IWC Pride. I'm going to do I hate comedy. So I'm going to be super serious in this match with Toru Yano. And, of course, he does the exact opposite. What did you think?
I thought this was really fun and perfectly placed. It's a palate cleanser in between two very serious matches that worked very hard-hitting styles to a bunch of comedy here to sort of clean you up for what's to come. So I thought that was very well done. And they did what you expected. Lots of comedy, lots of them trying to one-up each other as far as douchebaggery goes. And ultimately it ends the way it should with Omega going over. But I thought this was really fun. Really, really fun.
Yeah, the Battle of the Lobos was hilarious. Yes. And then, of course, they had to do the spot where they're both hurting from the groin area, and they're having to, barely go out and punch each other and stuff, and used a lot of the referee, so they couldn't, Omega couldn't try to low blow Yano again. The whacking Omega with a turnbuckle pad, that thing never gets old. And the return of the chainsaw from Kenny Omega, we hadn't seen in a little bit there for Yano. So some fun stuff from both guys, and it lets Kenny Omega, even though he had the serious pants on, be a bit more festive and everything. And so interesting stuff. Kenny Omega gets that win back after losing to Yoshihashi. And Yano still winless so far. So wonder if he's going to rack up some wins later. After this, we get the never openweight champion in Katsuri Shibata against Kazuchika Nakajima. I got corrected. That it's very much like Okada. You do not say the U in that way. Thank you, you folks on Twitter that have to, make sure you're saying it linguistically correct. I'm not hating on those people. It's always good to get your names right, This was wow. This was exactly what we kind of figured it was going to be, right? It wasn't the Ibushi Shibata total nasty fest that we got last year, but this was pretty damn good. I enjoyed the crap out of it, and I love the fact that Nakajima got so desperate he started using Shibata's moves, and he did it one too many times, and it hurt him.
It hurt him before that too because he goes for the drop kick in the corner and hits it on Shibata. Shibata turns right around and runs him right the fuck over, and it is brutal. I love Shibata in this match. And it was a constant one-upsmanship too because Nakajima likes to kick, and then Shibata shows him how to kick, and they just continually one-up each other until the end. Whenever Shibata finally ends Nakajima's misery by knocking him unconscious with the PK. But I loved this match so much.
Yeah, I mean, this was freaking awesome. Of course, just two guys, very similar builds, similar styles, and you get this with just them whooping each other with kicks, and then Shibata, of course, wanting to show that he is the better of the two. And of course, Nakajima sort of used to be in the face with Noah, so he had to deal with not getting the crowd reaction that he kind of used to. Mm-hmm. And so, the crowd was totally into the home field advantage for Shibata here, and just the Nakajima trying to do the PK on Shibata is what kind of did him in, because then Shibata holds the leg, and that kind of leads to the comeback, and Shibata doing the sleeper and the PK. Just great stuff, and Shibata wins after losing to Hanma, so he's on 2 points, and Nakajima loses for the first time here. So these two, we go from a hard-hitting bash fest to a more sort of traditional match here, big-time main event that went long but did not feel long at all. Mm-mm. And, I was just sitting here watching and going, man, has this really been as long as it says here? It doesn't really feel like it at all. And just perfect mixture of styles with these two. Just Naito's continuing that whole I'm gonna wear you down approach, and Elgin, of course, doing his stuff. And they were Naito, and then it sort of seemed like they were going towards Elgin towards the end.
I think Elgin just put in one heck of an incredible performance here. Naito was Naito. He was great. It's a great main event. But Elgin, the running Death Valley driver into the corner, I'm surprised Naito did not break his freaking neck. Just ow. Ow, ow, ow. There's also Elgin with the lariats, just running Naito right the hell over. So good. And Naito with that absolutely gorgeous reverse Rana out of the Elgin bomb was just so... As much as I loved that last match for how brutal this was, it was a great main event that they put on here in that typical New Japan G1 style, and so good. I do not have enough words. I'm so tired, but this is a great match.
This for me is my favorite match of the G1 so far. I think it's the best out of the two that are in that big category of just great, excellent matches that, if we're going to go through to the night one matches, just, I love this match. These two just, I think complemented each other so well, because Naito was able to really want to make sure he got Elgin down, and Elgin was having none of it, and then just the closing stretch they did was fantastic. And that little bit of, I've done enough to your leg to where it gave out on that first Destino, and then it allows him to get the second one. Just awesome stuff, and a great close to a night 4 that was much better than, like I said, the night 2s and 3s. And that's the thing, it sort of seems like we're getting a theme, because we'll talk about this with night 5, where we're starting to get these, not all the shows are hitting, but this night 4 certainly did. So that's certainly a plus.
You have two, I think, next level matches that could main event anywhere, obviously in Japan. But stuff that could, like Naito and Elgin, could be a main event we get down the road for something more than just a G1 thing, If Nakajima is coming to New Japan, Shibata and Nakajima for the never open weight title could be a very real possibility. So I think there's maybe I'm reading too much into this, but there certainly is something more to see out of all this than just two fantastic matches and what is one of the best tournaments of the year.
So, I mean, I haven't commented on this, but how do you like Elgin's jacket with the weights that like he pulled? There's the weights of the buttons, and he pulls them off, and they come in. I thought that was kind of cool. I never noticed that until like when I watched the match with Naito. There's sort of the way he has it is just pretty cool that he's gotten to that point where he's making himself a fashion statement for himself there in Japan.
It seems to be everybody's goal in this G1. Like everybody's got new gear or something new to their look, and like people just trying to stand out on this giant stage. And I think you see it every night.
Well, so we move on to the next night, the night that just happened this morning, night 5, as Tomohiro Ishii started it off taking on Bad Luck Fale, and we mentioned this in the previous time we talked about Fale having a match, and not everybody gets having the match with Fale. They don't always come across as very good or anything like that. And Ishii, again, because he's so freaking awesome, he got it here with Fale. He just let Fale. It's so weird to see Ishii not be the aggressor. And Fale was sort of the aggressor in this one, with Ishii kind of having to get his spots where he could.
Yeah, very much seemingly outlasting Fale. And just like I love the fit, just summoning everything he had, picking Fale up, and brain bustering the fuck out of him. 10 out of 10. I love Ishii so much. This was great, and continues to prove how great a worker he is. He got something really, really good out of Bad Luck Fale here.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That was just man, Ishii. I talk about him all the time. You talk about him all the time. Just how I think people that don't watch New Japan, or maybe just you're watching the big stars, and you're not thinking about an Ishii. And this guy really needs to be in that match wrestler of the year conversation, because every time he's out there having a match, he is fantastic. And no difference here with Fale, who just looked like the biggest douche out there. Just okay, I'm gonna take your beloved Ishii. I'm just gonna take him out, and then just he never realized that Ishii was just basically making him waste his energy until they got to the point where he could get him down. So
right,
very good match here, and we move on to a Togi Makabe and Sonata match, and it's Makabe, and this is not one of those where I don't think it's Sonata's fault. I just think that just Makabe just doing stuff, and Sonata sort of trying to do things here and there, and I don't think it worked. So.
I just don't think they ever really clicked. Sonata's out there doing his thing, working really well. I think Makabe is working as well as he can at this point in his career, and seemed more invested in this match than he had in his previous two outings so far. And nothing ever really clicked for them, I think, and that's kind of rough when you just don't click with your opponent. But Makabe gets another win. He's undefeated, which I don't think anybody in the world, unless you're Ghetto, knew was going to happen. So.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about him being a draw for them and all that stuff, but man, 6 points already. And yeah, I know he beat Tonga and whatever, but beating Sonata, that's a big deal. Like, just Sonata goes and beats Tanahashi on that first night, and then he subsequently loses. I mean, obviously, Makabe and Okada aren't anybody to sniff at. I mean, they're big draws for New Japan, but what do you think about that? Sonata kind of coming crashing down back to earth.
Yeah, I mean, the booking for this tournament is making me scratch my head every time. But I start a New Japan show for a G1, and I'm already like, I don't know what I'm expecting. I don't know what I'm going to get. I just know there's going to be some good wrestling. That's really it. Who's winning? Yeah. I don't fucking know.
Exactly, and you didn't that's the same thing with this next match. Hiroshi Tenzan, he's on that dream run, and you got Noah Michi Murafuji here from Noah, of course, current GHC Tag Champion, and he carries that belt like a boss, just walking up there all serious up to Tenzan, and these dude this is kind of the Marufuji we've seen a lot in Noah this year, where he's just chopping the shit out of people, and he does that to Tenzan a ton here. Just two guys being brutal, and Tenzan like headbutting freaking Marufuji's knee like he doesn't give two shits. It's like if there's one guy that's gonna headbutt something, watch out for Tenzan. And I love the fact that like even though Tenzan, he's older, he was still being a little smart with Marufuji, like just pissing him off so much to the point where Marufuji's like, all right, man, just fuck this. We're gonna just pound you, and I'm gonna get this Shirano whether you like it or not. I'm gonna win. And Marufuji does win, but man, Tenzan again puts on one hell of a performance.
And Tenzan done in by the move that's one of the last two, which was the moonsault. So I'm curious, and I'm very hopeful that plays in to his next couple of matches, is that maybe he doesn't go for the moonsault. Maybe he just goes for the Anaconda Vice and starts getting some tap outs. Maybe he works some more grinding style instead of just, doing what he has been, which is going for the big offensive moves, excuse me. But yeah, Marufuji I thought was good here too. Lots of chops, lots of strong kicks, lots of trying to find a way around Tenzan, who is seemingly found a bottle of water from the Fountain of Youth and is just slowly sipping on it as we're going through the G1 so far.
And Kojima was great again here too. Every time you thought he's telling him, get up, let's move, get moving, get motivated, and you can hear him because there's no commentary for this show, so you can certainly hear Kojima a lot. And just always great to see this, and this is we got to see the first time that he loses and the reaction. So very interesting going forward. Again, I love the fact that we've got Tenzan's actual real music here too, so you don't have to hear the crowd get totally just blurred out because they have to do the overdub. You get Tenzan's cool music, and they did it for Nagata as well, so sounds like somebody's finally getting some rights, or they're just paying some bills for this G1. I don't know, but it adds to the atmosphere. Certainly, you like that we're finally getting these themes?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always a little sad whenever they have to overdub, but honestly, I don't mind the overdub songs they do for Tenzan or Nagata personally. The only one I really get miffed about is Liger, just because I love his entrance music. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think like Nagata's, I've gotten so used to his. His is almost cooler than the Pirates of the Caribbean sort of thing that he has for his original one.
Yeah.
I think I like Tenzan's original one a bit more, but you get it. You got so used to Tenzan's that it doesn't really bother us so much over here in the West that some people may not even know the difference at this point.
Right.
But so you get to the big upset of the show with Hiroshi Tanahashi and Tama Tonga, and Tama Tonga wins. He gets his first 2 points in the G1 against freaking Hiroshi Tanahashi. Of course, this goes in with the cool story that they're telling with Tanahashi, and this like where he's breaking down and he's not being good enough, and he's so upset at himself at the end here. He lets out a big scream, and just I love the emotion and all that with Tanahashi, but man, I thought this was Tonga's best match, obviously, especially with who he's working with, but you still didn't get anything, I think, outstanding or whatever. I think Tonga certainly set the tone, but I don't know, what'd you think?
I was a bit disappointed here. I was really expecting something special because not only is, Tanahashi really pulling a lot of good work out of these people so far, and he's only maybe at 60%, but Tama Tonga has a very similar style to him. They both like to fly around. They're both crazy athletic, and we never really got that. We had Tonga wrestle a smarter match, trying to outpace Tanahashi, make Tanahashi do all the work and play into the injury, and that's not really what you want to see out of Tonga right now. You want to see him have these big performances. You want to see him do all these big moves and try to put on a show, and they didn't do that. They played a smarter match, which I don't think is doing him any effort or any favors. Tonga. That being said, him getting this win here is still a big deal, and hopefully this plays into that. Like, he needs to come out his next match, no matter who it is, with a lot of energy. He needs to really put on a show and try to get people to show some interest, because even he came out in this match, it's still crickets.
Mm-hmm. He did get some crowd response a little bit, I think, when he did some of the big moves. They were certainly into it.
Mm-hmm.
But there was not that sustained response. Obviously, you have Tanahashi, who the crowd's always going to root for, so that's always a hard one. But it did feel like the care from the crowd still wasn't there. So, that's like you said, it's got to keep improving for Tama Tonga, or, who knows what happens here with him as far as, future career-wise, if he does anything in singles. And of course, that was your semi-main event. Do you think when do you think Tanahashi's road to redemption starts here? Do you think it starts in the next match, or they do this again?
I think.
Oops.
I think they do it again. Maybe you do it the night after that. Who's his next? Where I'm at.
Because you cut out for like a little period there for some reason.
Oh, unfortunate. Do you know who his next opponent is? Because I really, if it's Okada, I think he gets a win over Okada now.
Okada is the last. Oh, you mean Tama Tonga or
Tanahashi?
Okada's his last one.
Okay.
On the, I think, who's he wrestling? It might be Ishii. Actually, I'm trying to look this up, but it might actually be Ishii on that night 7. I
wouldn't be surprised if Ishii loses there. I also wouldn't be surprised if they keep it going one more, just because I really hope they want to keep Ishii in the hunt and not just what he's been doing so far. Although I didn't have him beating Fale, so.
Yeah, that's going to be certainly interesting as far as do they have him lose to Fale again? Do they have him finally beat Fale, which that's I'm certainly going to be sitting there looking at that going, well, will he lose it to him or not again?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have this main event, which I've read, I think, like about 3 or 4 reviews, and everybody has the same feeling of they're almost walking through this match. And it didn't feel as though, it certainly was nowhere near the Goto Okada match that we got at last year's G1, which was freaking excellent. Awesome match that Goto, that wound up was what kickstarted the story for him this year, because that's when they did the title shot that he got for beating Okada then.
Right.
What do you think? I thought it was still good, just I don't know, the energy wasn't there.
The energy was not there. I won't say they walked through it, but it's certainly, I think they knew where they were. They were in a smaller venue. It's not one of the bigger G1 shows, and they sort of decided maybe to not just go 100%. They maybe went 80%. I will say, however, though, it wasn't at the level of G1 main event. It's still a good match, though. I think, they saved it all for the ending stretch, and they really drew you in that way, and away they went. But it wasn't anything close to what they've done in the past.
No, certainly not. It's Tanahashi and Fale, actually.
Okay.
On that next one. So, could be Tanahashi's redemption of finally beating Fale after losing 2 years in a row to him. Okada's actually facing Tama Tonga. So, I think we kind of know what's probably going to happen there, unless they do the crazy upset.
Right.
So, and then you get Makabe and Tenzan. So,
that'll be fun.
That should be interesting. certainly. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really wanted this to be the things we've seen in the past from these guys, and you didn't get that here. I still thought they went out there and you had some good stuff from Goto, some good counters of the GTR by Okada into the Tombstone or into some other moves, and Okada just wins with that Rainmaker and puts him down. So, yeah, that was the end of Night 5 and the end of the New Japan coverage for on this show. I mean, so we've gone through the first 5 nights. What do you think in general of the tournament so far?
I mean, it's been good so far. I think the best part is that it's been so unpredictable. It's gone completely the other from what a lot of people thought was going to happen, or what people were thinking was going to happen, or however you want to say it. But yeah, Nagata and Hanma on top of Block B, Tenzan and Makabe on top of Block A. Who predicts that shit? You know, certainly not me. And I mean, it's like I said. You turn on the G1 show this year. Don't try to pick winners. Just watch the show. Be enthralled by the wrestling, and whoever wins is whoever wins, because it's a we're in whatever Ghetto's been taking. It's nothing normal.
Yeah, he's certainly, and I think that's sort of the thing is the quality hasn't been there like last year, and that's sort of been something that people have been harping on is, oh my God, it's not as great as last year, whatever. And I think with all the people that they lost, it was always going to be hard for them to be able to match that. But I think what they've been able to do is cover it with, oh, well, we're just going to make this unpredictable. We're going to make this where you don't know who's going to win. You know, all those, like you said I think on yesterday's show, take those pick'ems and throw them out the window because we're going to just completely butcher them. And that's what they've done here. But you still got some great matches. You still got some good matches. I mean, you've had some ones that aren't stinkers per se, but they're just kind of there. And that's something that kind of always happens. But yeah, of course, when you lose an Ibushi as a Nakamura and an AJ Styles, you're going to lose some quality there, and replace them with the ones that you did. So
they also have a lot more storylines, I think, going on throughout this G1 than they did last year too.
Yeah, that's a good thought of it too. It's just, yeah, they have a lot of stories, and that makes it more interesting in that way. But so on the 27th at 5:30 in the morning Eastern Time, if you want to be awake in Nagano, there, of course, side of the Winter Olympics at one point in 1998, you get Yuji Nagata and Yoshihashi. This will be interesting. Kazuchika Nakajima against Evil. Toru Yano against Naito. We know how much fun that was last year with Naito just, I'm not taking any of your BS. Hanma against Kenny Omega. And it looks like the main event is Katsuri Shibata and Michael Elgin. Ooh.
Good God.
If somebody walks out of that alive, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, there might be a head in the front row by the end of that one.
Between the kicks and the elbows.
And those sick-ass lariats.
Oh. And Shibata's boots, too.
Yeah.
Those are, man. But yeah, okay. So until we meet again for night 6, I mean, don't know that's a Wednesday. Are we doing it that night? Or are we waiting until the Thursday?
That would depend on work for me, but I don't see why not.
All right, well, we'll cover it one way or the other. And until then, guys, of course, you can check out all of our our other G1 reviews. We did night 1 and then nights 2 and 3, so you can check those out. You can check out the regular rest of the Max episode that just dropped, talking about the future of Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose and some what to expect with SmackDown and other news going on in ROH as well. Great episode of ROH if you haven't watched it. And we also did our Raw review, which is a terrific freaking episode of the first New Era Raw. So, of course, you can check out that review. And, of course, don't forget, outside from the G1 stuff, we're doing a Kobe World after the SmackDown review on Tuesday. And aside from the G1 stuff, doing, of course, our regular show for the Thursday with NXT and TNA and all the other things that we do on those regular shows. And, of course, check out that W2M network as well with all the other shows that are on that, whether it's stuff that we do personally or it's our partner podcast. Always good to check those out. Well, until the next time we see you here on a W2M Extra, for Paul and myself, later, everybody.
Have a good night, guys. Or morning, wherever you are.